In this video we're going to look at the 4 different inventory valuation methods. The first one being the specific identification method. Then we've got our weighted average method, our Fifo, which is also known as the first in first out method, our Lifo method, which is last in first out, and we're just going to compare the different sales values of the different methods, and then finally we're going to look at the different closing stock values by using the 4 different methods. Right, so here we go. We start off with opening stock of 3 pies. Let's assume that we are buying and selling pies at school, and we still have 3 pies in the oven left from the previous day, and those pies we purchased yesterday at 5 Rand from the local Pick n Pay. So let's just draw our 3 opening pies here. Here we go. We've got 3 opening pies under the specific identification method. They each cost us 5 Rand. Then we've got the same 3 pies under the weighted average method, the same 3 pies under the first in first out method, and the same 3 pies under the Lifo method. So each of these pies, oops, I drew one too many there. So each of these pies cost me 5 Rand. So we can fill in the cost price for each of these pies. And then today, which is the next day, I purchased 3 additional pies, but this time the price increased, which is mostly the case in most economies, that prices rise as time passes. Okay, normally when you go to the shop tomorrow, the price wouldn't increase by 1 Rand, but just for the sake of this example, we've assumed that the price has increased by 1 Rand. So we've got our next batch of pies, which is the one we purchased today, and they cost me 6 Rand each. So here we go. Let's fill in our next batch. 6 Rand each. So in total now we've got 6 pies in our oven that we can sell to customers. So let's assume that during our break time we sell 3 pies. Question is, which 3 pies are being sold under the 4 different methods, and at what price are we going to sell them? So under the specific identification method, we are specifically going to sell the pies that the customer selected. So the one guy says, I want this one and that one, and another guy comes and he says, I want the all-pepper steak, but he says, I want that one. Alright, so there we go. Those are the 3 pies sold under the specific identification method. So now we've got 3 times, so what is the cost price of these 3 pies sold? We've got the 6, alright, we've got the 1 6, and then we've got the 2 5s that we sold. Alright, so there we go. 6 plus 5 plus 5. Then let's just quickly skip the weighted average method. We'll come back to that one. Let's go to the first in first out method. The first in first out method, we say regardless of the pies that is actually sold, we're going to assume that the pies that came in first is going to be the ones that are sold. So regardless if we sold this one, and this one, we're going to assume that the first batch of pies would be the first ones that are sold for purposes of determining our cost of sales and later also our closing stock. So under the first in first out method, we're going to assume that it's these pies that needs to be in our cost price. So whatever came in first is going to be the ones that go out first. So our cost price under the first in first out is going to be 5 Rand plus 5 Rand plus 5 Rand. The last in first out is exactly the opposite. So the last in first out, we're going to say the last batch of pies that came in is going to be the first ones that is going to go out. So these are the last batch of pies that came in. So they are going to be the ones that go out first. So if we take them out, then our pies sold are these three. So we've got 6, 6, and 6. So you can already see the lowest cost of sales is going to be my first in, first out. Where prices increase, the lowest cost of sales is reached by taking the first in, first out. Now what happens with our weighted average? Our weighted average is slightly different in that here we don't take the first batch of pies or the last batch of pies or the specific pies sold, but we throw all the pies into a single pot and or a single pool, and we divide it by the number of pies to come up with an average cost per pie. So our average cost per pie is going to be the 5 plus the 5 plus the 5 plus the 6 plus the 6, and if you add that all up together, you're going to get 33 Rand. And how many pies did we have? We had 6 pies divided by 6. Remember, an average you calculate by you add up all the numbers and then you divide by the number of numbers that you added. So we add up all the numbers, we get 33 divided by 6. That is going to give us 5 Rand 50. So this is the price that we're going to record the sales under the weighted average method. So here we've got a different price, which is 5 Rand 50, 5 Rand 50, and 5 Rand 50. So even though these may have been the 3 pies that were sold under the specific identification method, we value it exactly at the right cost. Under the weighted average method, we value it at an average cost. Under the first in, first out method, even though these were the 3 pies sold, we assume that it's the first pies that are being sold first, so we value it at the first batch of inventory or stocks prices. So we valued it at 5, 5, and 5 because we say first in, first out. Under the Lifo again, even though these were the pies that were sold, we are going to value it at the cost of the last batch of pies that were sold. Now this is now for the cost of sales. Alright, so just to calculate our cost of sales under the 3 methods, if we calculate that quickly, we're going to get a cost of sales figure of, under the specific identification, 6 plus 5 plus 5, which is 16, 3 times 5.5, which is 16.5. Then under the Fifo method, we've got 3 times 5, which is 15, and finally under Lifo, 3 times 6, which is 18. So we can see that my Fifo method gave me the lowest cost of sales, and my Lifo method gave me the highest cost of sales. And this will always be the case where prices increase, which is generally the case in most economies and with most goods. Right, let's quickly look at calculating our cost of unsold goods. So now we need to determine what is our unsold goods, because our unsold goods is what is going to make up my closing stock. So whatever is unsold will make up the closing stock. So let's quickly see which pies are unsold under the specific identification method. We've got the 5, the 6, and the 6. So we've got that 5, and we've got a 6 and another 6. Under weighted average, again, it doesn't matter which pies are left. They're all going to be valued at the weighted average. So we've got a 5.5, a 5.5, and a 5.5. Under the Fifo method, the pies left is the ones valued at 6 Rand. So here we go. And under Lifo, the ones left is the ones valued at 5 Rand. And just to quickly check this, or quickly have a look, we started off with 3 opening pies. So let's just make this a different color. We started off with 3 opening pies, then we purchased another 3 pies, then we sold 3 pies, so minus 3, so we've got 3 plus 3 minus 3, which is going to give me my unsold inventory, which is 3 plus 3 is 6, minus 3 is 3 again. So different color. Okay, so I've got 3 pies. Now the question again here is, what is the value of these 3 pies? Now the different methods give us different values for closing stock and cost of sales. So let's have a look. Specific identification method. Our closing stock is valued exactly at the value of the pies that are left. Can you see? These are our 3 pies that are left. There they are. So again, these are going to be the 3 pies that are actually left for all of them. These are the 3 pies that are actually left, but that does not mean we're necessarily going to value the pies at those 3 values every time. Okay, so these are the actual 3 pies left, but we're not necessarily going to value our closing stock at the actual cost of those 3 pies. Only under the specific identification method do we value it at the actual cost of those 3 pies, which is the 5, the 6, and the 6. So my closing stock under specific identification then is 5 plus 6 plus 6, which is 12 plus 5, which is 17. Another way to calculate this was to say my opening stock, which was 15, opening stock, plus the purchases, which was 18, minus the cost of my sales, which was, we calculated it here, 6 plus 5 plus 5 gave me 16. And if you calculate that, you're also going to get 17. So that's just the way that you can check your answer. Opening stock plus the purchases minus the cost of sales gives you your closing stock. Alright, so that was the specific identification methods. The actual pies left are valued at the actual cost of those pies. Now under the weighted average method, again these are our actual pies left, but we're not going to value it at 5, 6 and 6. We're going to value it at the weighted average price. So we've got 3 pies unsold at 5 Rand 50 each, so that's going to give me 16 Rand 50. Right, easy enough. First in, first out. Again, these are the 3 pies that are left. Again, we're not going to value it at the actual cost. We only do that for the specific identification method. We're going to value it at the cost of the price of the items that are left. So these were the first ones that we sold, so they're going to leave first. So we're left with the 3 pies at 6 Rand each. Okay, so my closing stock is then at the higher price. So 3 times 6 is 18. And finally my Lifo method, the closing stock is again not valued at the actual cost of the pies left. Remember the yellow lines here represents the actual pies left, but we don't value them at 5, 6 and 6. We value them at the 5, the 5 and the 5, because under Lifo method we say the last stock that came in, which is my purchases here, will be the first ones that get, oops, sorry about that, the last ones that came in will be the first ones that get sold. Right, so we said, okay, these ones were the ones sold, so we then left with the 3 5s. So then we've got 15 here. So again, you can see my highest closing stock value is with the Lifo method, and my lowest closing stock value is with the Lifo method. Sorry, highest closing stock is with the Fifo method, and lowest closing stock is with the Lifo. So I hope this helps you to see how the different valuation methods will give me different values for cost of sales and different values for closing stock.